Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After. We are your hosts, Lindsey and
Brett the Moneymaker, Schunkweiler.
here to give you some love, relationship tips and advice, as well as
Financial tips.
financial tips and money tips and
Well, that's kind of financial.
stock market. Yeah, I mean, is it all umbrellaed under finance?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, fine. What to do with your future finances
And money, yeah.
and money.
Why not?
So, what is going on in our world right now?
Well, we had dance this last week. Dance
Yes,
recital. We had what?
dance.
Piano recital one night. We had dance recital the next night.
So, I saw a post and someone had mentioned that May is like called Maycember.
What
And
is
so,
that?
you know how December is stressful because you have like Christmas or holidays and like
Oh,
gifts and
December,
like
yeah.
breaks and you got to buy for teachers. Well, May is basically that as well. So it's like the end of the year, they snowball you with like field trips, teachers' gifts, little things that you didn't prepare for, graduation. And then to throw it all up, we also have recitals. So yeah, we had an hour and a half of beautiful piano music to sit through. And then, 3 hours today of
3+ hours of
recital for dance.
dance. Yes.
So, yeah.
But you know what? It's done. High five.
We
survived it.
survived. And then,
Booyah.
last week of school.
And then now they get to, chill and relax over the summer.
I had to kind of laugh and kind of smirk at you today because you and the other dads were like, well, this wasn't so bad this year. It was like
wasn't. It's great.
faster, wasn't very long. And the moms just looked at the husbands like, you have no idea.
That's right, we don't.
You know nothing. Jon Snow. I use that one a lot. You don't know that reference. Game of Thrones.
Gosh. Yeah, no.
No, the moms are in the back getting all the girls ready, changing the hair and the makeup and the outfits and hair pieces. It's like chaos back there. You have no idea.
Well, we were roughing it out there in the crowd.
Oh, I'm
waiting.
sure, enjoying yourselves.
And waiting.
Yeah. And then what else has happened? Our son wrapped up golf, and I was laughing. He came home the other day. He's playing golf for the season, and he's fairly fair-skinned, but he got a little bit of a tan being outside in the golf. But he wears a golf glove, and his hand is pure white. So he's got a tan hand or a tan arm, and then his hand is pure white.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
like you gotta stick that hand out the window or
Farmer's
something when
tan
you're
on his-
driving.
It's kind of like baseball player, you got to have batting gloves, whatnot.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other crazy thing that happened. So we're filming a different time tonight. We're like filming night. We usually film during the day.
Yeah.
And I always tell Brett, I'm like, the office is haunted for sure. Like I have this sense. I have a sixth sense, if you
You
will.
just think everything's haunted, though.
I mean, that's not true.
Oh,
Everything
please.
probably is haunted. Think about the history of anything. There's probably a residual haunting of everything. But you heard it tonight. We're upstairs recording, office, no one's here, and it sounds like footsteps, like walking towards us. And the other night I was here alone grabbing some snacks because our daughter dances just down the street. And I hear singing, and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
out. I don't
And
deal
you
with this
text
singing.
Rachel, our COO, it's like, hey, were you here the other day, and did you hear this?
No, I asked her, the office,
Singing.
like the cleaner, Sunny. I'm like, do you ever hear? She's like, absolutely. I just turned the music that I'm listening to louder.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm not going to be
You
here
think
by
everything's
myself.
haunted, though.
I do.
You used to watch, like, the Ghost Hunters and all
You know, though, there are things that even happen in our own home you can't explain.
There's one thing.
We
with
had
the
a
pictures
picture
falling
in
off
the
wall,
middle
yeah.
of the night. We have a large farm table. It's about 8 foot long.
Yeah, 8 to 10, yeah.
And
somewhere
this
in there.
picture flew and landed on the floor, halfway on the floor from this table, the beginning of this table. So 4 feet in?
No.
Couldn't
so-
explain it.
No, it fell to the middle of that table, but it was over like 15 feet over from a different wall.
Correct.
So I'm pretty good at math and angles and whatnot, and
And so what's your explanation
there's
if
no
things aren't
possible
haunted?
logical explanation
how do you
on how
explain
that
that,
could
mister?
bounce that way and fall and rotate to get to that spot. But You still think everything's haunted.
I'm
not
married
saying
to a
that was
practical
freaky,
financial advisor. You're married to the dreamer / I think everything's haunted because
Yeah,
it
pretty
clearly
much.
is. It clearly is.
No.
So anyway, getting off a tangent here, but we're going to circle into our relationship stuff today.
Okay.
Part 2 of our 25 years married, 25 tips. So this is coming again from Real Life Community Church, written by Pastor Chris May, taking a little bit of a biblical religious view on how to get through a long-term relationship, marriage, what their advice is and
Any
what
quick
seems to
recaps
work.
for a couple of them from last week?
So yeah, I mean, obviously, I encourage people to listen to last week's episode for or tips 1 through 4.
And where can you listen to that from?
I am so glad you asked. You can listen to us on Apple and Spotify, streaming on both of those, as well as YouTube, where you can ask questions we can address. But if you have other specific questions, where can they ask those questions,
You go
Brett?
to the website, financially foreverafter.com. Ask a question, leave a comment, and we'll be more than happy to bring your name up, kind of like what we're going to do here today on a couple people that sent some questions in.
Oh, yeah, some financial.
And we will discuss them. Some
Absolutely.
financial questions.
Or if you want to just talk about ghosts with me, I'm more than happy to share your experiences because I got a lot of them. So
Oh, gosh.
not necessarily a relationship or finance, but hey, if you have some good ghost stories, I'm down for hearing those. Brett would be too. He will just explain it away. But anyway, so getting back to Pastor Chris, we're going to start in tip 5 today.
Okay.
So starting off with having a regular, meaningful conversations. So we kind of talked about this last episode. If you have kids, or let's say you don't have kids, let's say you're just, you have jobs, you have busy things going on in life. It's so easy to get in the trenches and kind of lose that relationship that you built, especially in the beginning where you have those long, meaningful conversations where you're building that relationship and really strengthening those bonds. Some of that can kind of go by the wayside as you have kids or your jobs get in the way. So he said, make it a point to really make sure you're having those really meaningful conversations. So I just think to you and I, some of the conversations we have at night, sometimes they're just mostly circled around the kids, but it's just setting more or less, he recommended setting aside about 10 minutes a day to really connect and have those good, meaningful conversations, whether they be circled around your kids or your jobs or whatever they may be. Maybe it's something stressful that's going on where you can just kind of connect and check in with the other person.
I almost feel like you have to have like a designated time or something
Yeah.
like, hey, designated routine, because everybody's such, creatures of habit.
Yes.
Right? And, if you had a long day, long week, long whatever, you're like, okay, well, let's now talk about our 10 minutes. Like, you got to do that sometime right before the end of the night. I
think you and I more or less do it at night when the kids are down. That's probably more of our time to connect. Because dinner time, let's be honest, it's all circled around the kids and their days, and they hardly ever ask us about us, these selfish little creatures. They just, they're like little, what are those like sea creatures that just suck the life out of you and then just don't give anything back? They suck the life from us.
I'm thinking piranhas right now, and I know that's not it.
Or like a big squid where they just, that's how I feel a lot
Where's
of times.
this going today?
I don't know. It just sounds good. But yeah, my kids are basically giant squids.
Okay.
There you go. Meaningful conversation for you. This one is good because I don't think we necessarily follow this. He says, tip number 6 is to put the darn cell phone down.
Oh, really? Kind of
Yep.
like when we were driving home earlier and I took it from you.
You did, and I was not happy about that. But he said, consider having a media-free time for a specific period each day. I think you and I do a good job with dinner time. So with the kids, we all put the phones away. We don't have them at the dinner table. That's our time to kind of connect as a family when we're actually sitting down together as a family, which is any more few and far between. But we try to make it a point to dinner time, no phones.
I think there should almost be like a teacher or a class or like, hey, now in this new era, like with technology, such a big thing, like, all right, how can we do it in the most efficient way? Like decompose your family of having this tech all the time, 24/7.
Well,
like,
yeah, because even with the kids
put it away.
anymore,
Like, what's a
all
normal
they're
routine?
learning on is Chromebooks, or like it's like a tablet. So it's not even, they don't hardly even do much on paper and pen anymore. I feel like it's all technology all day, every day. So you're right. I think having that time to decompress and having no technology at all
Like 5 to 8
would be
something
great.
like that.
That's
It's
why
not fun.
I love to try to plan trips where you can't be on your cell phone or email.
Good luck with
or-
that.
Yeah.
We have international
I
plans.
don't like that. let's make sure that doesn't happen. But finding a place where maybe you don't have good cell phone service to decompress. Or camping. There's not always good cell phone internet areas when you go
that's true.
camping. So
We have had some issues when like national parks or going hiking and
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
yeah.
Couldn't find our son that one time.
Yeah, I got lost with some
You got
friends
lost.
in Arizona.
Didn't you get lost with Ev too? Or you couldn't find your way back to the
Arizona
car?
is like a hot spot for not being able to find your people, so it can easily
Maybe
be
don't-
done.
Maybe don't go with that.
Tip number 7 is to go on a date with your spouse every week. So we've touched on this multiple times, but the 777 rule, just making it a point of like, it's during the week. Maybe you can't do a dinner out. Maybe it's a lunch date. Maybe you can grab coffee together at one morning, whatever it may be. Just trying to set aside a time. Like, this is our time as a couple to just reconnect, be together, talk about things that are going on in our lives. Because again, life gets hectic. It's crazy. It happens. So setting a point where it's like, this, we're going out. This is our time.
I kind of think of it when you explain this, you know, when I'm drawing up a financial plan for people, it's like you gotta have a structure and you gotta lay it out. So, you know, thinking of it from a relationship standpoint, probably need to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Probably need to lay it out and say, hey, you know what? We're gonna set aside time on a date or on something else that we have scheduled time to, like, all right, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, when are we going to? Maybe it could be a monthly thing. Like, what are we gonna do? What days
To
of the
plan
month
it out
are
in
we
a
gonna?
month. Yeah.
That would probably be the best way for. I mean, let's be real for us. Like,
Yeah.
it's been like a month since we've gone on
Yeah.
a date. We finally
We've
went on
let it
one
slip
last
by
week.
Yeah.
Last week we took you on
We
a lunch
followed
date.
our own advice, our
But
777 rule.
Otherwise, yeah, sometimes it's a while. So
Sometimes our podcast is our dates. This is where we reconnect.
it is very true. It's like have
Whether
time
people
with
are
each
listening
other.
to this right now,
Like, oh,
we're
okay.
having a date, so
Check.
you're just along for the ride.
This is date night tonight.
This is for us.
We had some extra time. We're like, let's go shoot
Yeah.
a podcast.
He's
tonight.
like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Let's start a podcast so we can actually go on dates and set it as a weekly thing." So that is what he recommended, and he said it's so important. Again, this is going back to a religious perspective, but so whether you're religious or not, whatever your religion is, he recommended daily prayer and studying scripture together. So this also, I think, is something that we really need to try to strive to do together because, you know, praying together or praying over something, especially something going on in your day, if you know you have something for work that you're stressed about, you know, taking the time to pray about it, or knowing that the week is going to get hectic and just, you know, sitting down and going through some things together and praying over it, I think is really important and strengthens a marriage and a relationship. And also praying for one another. I know for me, I personally pray for you, and I know you're going to be traveling a lot or driving on the roads. I just ask that you're safe. But those kind of things are important to do as a couple.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I do the same when you're traveling or flying, but a lot of times it's like, all right, if you have anxiety or having a stomach issue or not feeling so good health-wise or something of that nature. But, yeah, we never really take the time to actually pray together for the same cause.
Yeah.
You know, other than supper.
Or doing
Or
scripture
lunch
together.
or
Like, we
something of
both
that
read the
nature.
Bible, but we never do it actually together and talk about it together.
Because
So
we do it different ways. Yeah, we do.
you
yeah.
read it front to back, and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. That's terrible.
It only took me like 10 years
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Now I'm on round 2.
Yeah. So
Couple years
however
in,
you need to get around
halfway
it,
through.
but just like a Bible study or something you can do as a
Yeah.
couple would be recommended. So that I thought that was actually a really good idea. Number 9, This one is great, especially you're going to laugh at this one because you're like, this definitely applies to us. He says, comb your hair and put on some nice clothes. Just because you've hooked him or her doesn't mean you should now let yourself go. I
like
think
that.
that's a big one, especially for moms that stay home or you're working from home. For me, I've been home or working from home for years, and it's just so easy to be in my sweatpants all day if I'm not having to be around people and just maybe doing meetings online where I only have to be like nice shirt or, whatever it is. But that's so important. And you dress for the most part pretty nice for work because you're
every
meeting
day.
with clients all day. But yeah, he recommended like, you're going to go on a date, make yourselves look presentable. Think about when you were first getting together. You wanted to look the best you could possibly look because it was new, it was fresh. You wanted to smell nice and look nice and have the good haircut. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, I spoke with a client probably, it's probably 4 months ago now. And, he had a very good piece of advice. He goes, you know what? You should treat your spouse like you're dating. He goes, if you treat your spouse like you're dating all the time, then it's always interesting and always new and always, and granted, like it might not be in regards to that, but like treating her like, hey, I'm going to open the door. Like if we were just dating, would I have said that to her? Or would I have treated her that way? Or would I have raised my voice to her that way? And you're like, no, I probably wouldn't have. So if you can look at your spouse that way and treat them that way, then you're going to be better off. And your spouse is going to return the favor more than likely after like, oh, I treat her that way, she's going to treat me this way, or and vice versa. So I was like, that's awesome. Like that's gold. That is gold right
that's
there.
Good. Yeah, that's definitely good advice.
I
Because
think
I feel like,
as
you get into the funk of just, you're comfortable with one another. So it's just like, we're buddies, we're friends, we're spouses, but we take that stuff for granted, I feel like.
Yep. And I think everybody that's been in a long-term relationship, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people do. Mm-hmm. So you're like, all right, well, we're going to try to change it up.
Yeah, I like that.
It can't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're going to end today with part 2. So we have time for the next future episodes for the finishing up these 25 tips. But tip number 10, speak well of your spouse in front of your children and others.
That we were at a Christmas party of one of my clients. He invited us. We usually have Christmas parties, but he invited us out to his place. And there was somebody that we met there. And you're asking him about his wife. He's like, you know what? I really got to brag on her. And then he just did nothing but brag and say good things and whatnot. There's a lot of times that you'll hear other people like nagging on the spouse. Like, oh, yeah, but this, or oh, yeah, but that. But like actually bragging up your spouse, and if they ever heard that, like fantastic. Like why would you not want to encourage or brag them up or make them feel good about how much you value them or appreciate them rather than bringing them down? And we've seen other people do it. We've had friends that have done that in front of us, and you're like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, why you do that?
I'm sure we've done it where we're annoyed at one another. We've mentioned something. But yeah, that's such a good point, especially in front of your kids. You just really want to show them that, no, we talk highly of people and we try not to put people down. So that's a good point, because especially for girls, I feel like probably girls do it more than guys for the most part. You go out with your girlfriends, you're like, my husband did this today. Oh, he was supposed to mow the lawn. It's kind of like
you whine and complain about this is what you do.
You want to take your wine and then you whine also about your husband. So, but that's a good point. I like that, the fact that he was bragging on his wife, and he literally told us, I got to take a time to brag on my wife a little bit.
Yeah,
and we were just like,
words.
That's kind of cool. That's something new and
we still
refreshing.
Remember it a couple years later.
Yeah, it sticks out on our brain. So that's actually some good advice there. Bragging on your significant other, bragging and making them feel good, even if they're not around. She wasn't even there to hear that he was doing this, but still stands out in our mind for something he did. So it's really good.
And it's just a great perspective to have too. It's like, rather than think, oh, this other person has this, or oh, why can't we have this, or I'm deprived of this, or this person's doing this for this significant other. Why didn't you do this? Or isn't that great when, Jim did this for his wife? just kind of being a thankful heart.
Yeah.
And saying thank you for what I do have,
Like
not for the
gratitude.
stuff that I do not have or do not receive.
Absolutely.
Just be grateful for what you have.
I like that. So there you go for some additional tips. We'll get into some more next week for those final 25. We only got 10 in, so we might stretch this out for an episode.
Might be like part 7.
Yeah.
Part 23.
So we want to take our time and really go into each one of these because each one obviously involves a little bit side conversation. So we're going to spin into our financial questions that were asked, actually submitted by people that had some financial questions, which who doesn't in this day and age? I feel like there are lots of financial things.
Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for sending them in. So
Yep.
Keeps it interesting.
It does. So we're going to start off today with, this was written in by Stan B. So Stan, thank you so much for writing in. He asks, what is the difference between a 401k and an IRA?
Ooh, good question.
Take it away, babe.
Do you know? Do you have any idea? What if you?
Okay,
what would you say?
Hold on. 401k. I just remember this from working in corporate job. 401k, the company matches like what you're putting in.
Typically, yes.
And then it's just money you accumulate from working at the company, correct?
Yep.
IRA. Don't know. I don't know. I don't even know.
Okay. So here's the difference from 401k and IRA. So 401k, yes, the company contributes to that retirement account for you. They get a tax deduction to do it, but they contribute money for you, and then you typically also contribute money for a traditional 401k. There is what you call a Roth 401k, where you can put the money in where it. Remember how that Roth works, Linz? What happens on that Roth? How does that money grow?
Like time.
How's that money go? Time.
It accrues over time.
Oh, okay.
Isn't right?
It grows tax free. That's what I was.
But it accumulates over time. Am I wrong?
It's fine. No, I mean all money typically accumulates over time, but yeah. So a Roth grows tax free, get out tax free. So a lot of times, if you say, "Hey, well, I have a 401k or I have a Roth 401k," so a 401k grows tax deferred, which means as it's growing, you don't pay the taxes. But when you withdraw it out post age 59 and a half, then it's all taxable. A Roth 401k grows tax-free, and then when you withdraw it after age 59 and a half, it is all tax-free. But sometimes employers have it where you could put into like a Roth 401k, but they're always going to match the traditional side. And the reason the traditional side is matched is because Uncle Sam is giving the employer a tax deduction for that 401k, like putting it in. So for instance, here, Shunkwiler Financial, we're contributing for our employees. We get a tax deduction for doing that. That's obviously money out of pocket on our side, but that money is also going into that employee's retirement plan, growing tax deferred, and when they pull it out, it's taxable come the 59.5 or later. So that is the 401k part, but an IRA, and I say this, there are different limitations. So typically in a 401k, you can put in 25,000, something like that a year. If you're after the age of 50 or over the age of 50, you can do an extra $6,000. So you can get up right around $30,000. Don't have the exact numbers memorized, but it's pretty close to that. About $30,000 a year you could contribute to a 401k. However, on an IRA, any guesses on what the limits are for how much you can put in an IRA? Because they're much less.
How the minimum?
Yep. So the max you can do in like a 401k if you're over 50 is about 30 grand.
Okay.
How much do you think you can put a regular IRA?
Minimum 5,000?
That's a pretty decent guess. Yeah. So, I mean, heck, when I started in college a few years ago, back in 2001, so when I was in college, the max you could do into like a Roth IRA or whatnot was $2,000.
Minimum or max?
That was the maximum.
Okay.
Now the maximum's up to $7,000 if you're under the age of 50. If you're over the age of 50, you can do what's called the catch-up provision, and you can actually do up to $8,000. Now, if you have an IRA or a Roth IRA, in any combination of those two, the max you can do is $7,000 or $8,000. So if you say, well, what if I put $5,000 in an IRA? Well, that means you can only do, if you're under 50, $2,000 in a Roth. But if you do all 7 in a traditional, which you'll get a tax deduction as long as you qualify. If you put it all in the IRA, then you can't put any in the Roth IRA. Or if you put all in the Roth, you can't put any money in the traditional. So the limitations are different on how much money that you can put into them. And, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, they're both meant for retirement. And one other thing to note is some people are like, all right, well, can I put money into a 401k and to an IRA? What do you think? You think you can do both or not?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. And you absolutely can. So, and you can have a 401k at work or a Roth 401k or a Roth TSP or something of that nature. Their savings plan for federal employees. You might say, all right, well, I'm over 50. So you mean to tell me I can put 30 grand in, and then I could also get matched on that from the federal government on the traditional side, or from your employer on the traditional side. And then I could do a Roth IRA outside to do another 8 grand. Yeah. So you could put about $38,000 in a year. If you're under the age of 50, you can do right around 24-ish. And then another 7, so about $31,000 a year. So you can put a hefty amount of money into retirement accounts.
That is awesome. Well, good for future planning, I guess. But so actually, it's kind of funny you brought up the IRAs, because another question was brought up about that.
Okay.
Robert wrote in and he asked, should I invest in a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA?
Ooh.
So tell us a little bit about that, wise financial advisor.
Okay, so question is, put in Roth or put in traditional? And the answer is it depends. Now, for me, I'm a big proponent of Roth money. Why? Because it grows tax-free. You get it out tax-free. So the differences would be, let's make it simple. Say you made $100,000 a year. And you say, all right, well, I want to lower my tax bill for the year. And you put 7 grand into a traditional IRA. So instead of getting taxed on the 100 grand, you're only getting taxed on 93 grand. So that's what happens as long as you qualify. You can put 7 grand in and only be taxed on 93. Whereas but that money then is going to grow tax deferred once again, which means you don't pay the taxes as it's growing. It's deferring the tax until post age 59 and a half. And then anytime you withdraw it after that, the whole amount, not only what you put into it, but all the growth is taxable. Whereas if you put in a Roth IRA, a contributory Roth IRA, what happens is if you make that same 100 grand, and you put 7 grand into a Roth, how much do you think you get taxed on?
You get taxed on the 7 grand?
Nope.
The whole thing?
So the thing is, your original 100,000, if that's your ordinary income, and if you put 7 grand in Roth, there's no tax deduction up front. The tax deduction on the Roth, or I can't really say deduction, the tax benefit on the Roth is your money inside the Roth grows tax-free and you get it out tax-free. So if you make the same 100 grand and you put 7 grand in a Roth, you still pay taxes on 100 grand. But that 7 grand grows tax-free. So let's just say you put in 7 grand. By the time you hit 59 and a half or later, it grew to be 25 grand. All 25,000, so 7 plus the 18 of growth, is all tax-free when you withdraw that money. So
interesting.
The benefit on the way back, it's tax-free money on the way back.
So do you say this just depends on the person and their situation then?
Yeah, typically, if you're going to need the money pretty quick, you're like, hey, well, I'm 62, going to retire at 65. Like, should I do a Roth? Does it even make sense? Well, if you think you're going to pull the money out pretty soon, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, at 65 and a half or 66, I'm going to just pull that money out. Probably not a huge benefit of doing that. Plus, you didn't wait 5 years because it's only 3.5 years out, because the growth on the Roth, it's 5 years or 59 and a half, whichever is longer. But also depends on when it was established. So otherwise, money in Roth grows tax-free, get it out tax-free. So I am a big proponent of any way you can have money be tax-free for you and not keep growing and compounding taxable or tax-deferred. Let's do it. So everybody's situation is different, but for the most part, I would say 90% of the time it makes sense to put the money in the Roth.
Okay. Well, those were great questions, and thank you for writing in. If you do have additional questions regarding finances, or let's just say they have some marriage, love questions, or advice, maybe
or a ghost story,
make sure you're writing in those questions. Hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel so that you do not miss an episode. You can also ask those questions there, also on Instagram, Facebook, as well as writing into our website. Again, what was that website again? One more time.
Financially4everafter.com.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. Have a great one.